Hi, y'all. So, a few months ago, an interview was published in which the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, stated that he didn't think that remote work should persist past the pandemic. This is Netflix, in whose values of freedom and responsibility make it seem an obvious candidate to embrace remote work. Luckily, Mr. Hastings had recently published a book that he talks about how they built their culture, and so I picked it up to get a feel for his perspective. And here's what I learned. When I think of companies that enable remote work, I think of companies that trust their employees to be responsible and to do their work without micromanagement. This enables those employees to work wherever they want to, when they want to. And this is why I was originally taken aback by Mr. Hastings' stance on remote work. Here's a company that has been very intentional about empowering their employees to make the decisions in their company, as well as to cut out red tape and cut out bureaucracy. Indeed, one of the examples in the book, No Rules Rules, is about an employee who is able to do great work, even from a hammock remotely on a beach. Another benefit of remote work is that companies gain access to a wider talent pool by being able to hire from anywhere. Netflix is growing very rapidly internationally, so they are very aware of the intricacies of hiring across the globe. One of my favorite parts of No Rules Rules book is how intentional Netflix was in bringing their corporate culture to those international employees and how they meshed that using the culture map tool. There's one example in the book of a senior executive leader from America who goes over and models the ability to take vacations to their employees in Japan. The result was that his Japanese team, who are culturally hesitant to take vacations, started to take them. I think sometimes those of us calling for a remote-first mindset in a future of work are a bit flippant when we're talking about building team and building culture. Teams that trust each other are more productive. There's no secret in that. And trust is built over thousands of interactions over time. And many of those interactions are not work-related. And so when you're in the office together with your coworkers, that trust can be built very quickly because you're always interacting with them, even if you don't think you are. When you're not working around each other, then that trust takes a lot longer, and any attempt to build trust can feel awkward and unnatural. The candor and context required for Netflix's culture to work well would be very strained if their teams were full-time remote. So there's no issue in me saying that Netflix would not work well full-time remote. Maybe partially, but not full-time. And what I mean by that is remote work communication is usually written and asynchronous. So you lose a lot of the context in written communication that you would have in verbal communication, and you also lose a lot of the timing that is required for radical candor when you're communicating asynchronously. From experience, I know that building culture and rapport on a remote team is much more difficult than that of an in-person team. Netflix approaches building their corporate culture with an extreme intentionality that I think that few companies can imagine. Now, as Netflix grows internationally, they've no doubt weighed the cost of that and weighed the benefits of remote work versus the drawbacks. But from reading No Rules Rules, I believe that Netflix has already adopted a remote-first mindset, even if they don't label it as such. If your company is serious about embracing remote work, especially for a global workforce, then I would encourage you to be as intentional as Netflix is in building your team culture and trust.